Good morning from Cyprus. Welcome back to Big Mouth. What a day, and welcome to the movie and TV show. So, I've got an update for you for the Lethal Weapon Season 3 premiere ratings. We find out last night that Kathleen Kennedy has extended her contract as head of Lucasfilm for 3 years. We find out that Fox have got insane, put out a trailer for Dark Phoenix, then delayed the movie till next year. They're also releasing a PG-13, a child-friendly, if you like, Deadpool 2, and they're releasing it exactly at the same time as the release of Aquaman, hoping to dent it. Are Disney and Fox already in cahoots to destroy the DCEU? Well, at the end of the day, good luck with that, guys, because give me a choice. I'm not going to go and see a film I've already seen. I wouldn't take my nieces and nephews to see a child-friendly Deadpool. I'll be egging them on to watch DC because I'm more of a DC fan, although I enjoy the Marvel films, including the Fox stuff and the MCU. So that's very, very interesting, isn't it? So let's start with Kathleen Kennedy on this really hot morning here in Cyprus. I don't know why I'm still wearing this shirt that I went out in last night, but hey, I'm a bit crazy. So the internet has been telling us for a long time that Kathleen Kennedy will be removed as head of Lucasfilm this month, which is September. But instead, and it's literally exactly how people predicted that we'd hear something by the end of September, but it's not the news most Star Wars fans, including me, wanted to hear. Shockingly, but we shouldn't really be surprised, should we? She's staying. Now, people are saying Bob Iger will micromanage her, so why would you have someone in charge which you have to micromanage? Hasn't he got better things to do? Is he just going to make the decisions and just have her there as a figurehead? That's ridiculous. Now, let me clarify something, because I'm seeing a lot of YouTubers say this, and it's the biggest load of nonsense ever, that nobody wanted the job of being in charge of Lucasfilm. No, nobody wanted it that they went to. The problem with Disney is in the past 6 months, I think, to a year, they've gone extremely woke. You can see it with Disney Pixar. You've certainly seen the crumblings and drippings of it within the MCU with what's going on with Captain Marvel. And we know what they've been doing to Star Wars from the very beginning. So they obviously didn't want to sack a female. So here we are now. We've got a woman who is in charge of a studio whose last film was an unmitigating disaster in the box office. This is a woman in charge of a studio whose film before the flop, right, The Last Jedi, was one of the most controversial films ever released. Even more controversial than Batman v Superman. The difference is I actually like Batman v Superman, even though I was extremely surprised at kind of the direction they went with it. I still enjoyed the film. So what do we do, Star Wars fans? What can we do about this? Nothing. All we can do is make a stand and say, we're not going to support this franchise anymore. We know what we're going to get. What's the point? I have been really excited about J.J. Abrams' Episode 9. But this just, you know how I feel now? How I felt when I finished watching The Last Jedi in the cinema. I felt a sense of anticlimax of I'm not really excited for the future. And now I know that Kennedy's going to carry on running this, well, shit show. I mean, I don't know what else to say. Sorry to swear. But, you know, what else can you say? It's an unmitigating disaster because Hollywood, and especially Disney, have become a company that don't really care about making money anymore. They're here for the politics of it. Because, as I keep on saying, SJWs are a new form of politics. They're neither to the left and they're neither to the right. They hate both. What they really want is to create a new centrist party. And I've always said this, until the left and right band together, which is a virtual impossibility, SJWs will get stronger and stronger. And our world will change into something new. When no one's allowed to speak out, when no one's allowed to say what they want to say, everyone has to say the right thing. Now, whether you deem what they think is right and what we think is right, That's another thing. So we're heading for a different world. There's no question about that. And we are becoming powerless to fight it. But going back to Star Wars is quite simple. There's no hope. There's no hope. Not a new hope. There's no hope. Because at the end of the day, and the reality is, nothing's going to change. Really, we should have guessed this was going to happen when Iger said last week he blamed himself for the failure of Star Wars. He said it was his fault. And he went back to how many films he was having and having a film a year. He was blaming that. Now, that was nothing to do with it because no one was complaining when Rogue One came out a year later after The Force Awakens. So once they weren't speaking the truth, they won't even admit to themselves that it's the virtual signalling, that it's the SJW storytelling and casting. That's the problem. So they're going to carry on running this franchise into the ground. George Lucas's baby. This was a film franchise to envy. It was making billions of dollars around the world. Everyone loved it. We loved A New Hope. We loved The Empire Strikes Back. I personally liked Return of the Jedi, and I did enjoy the trilogy because I took it for what it was. I liked the prequels because I took them for what they were. It was a story before the story. They were trying to. Did we really need to know how Darth Vader became Darth Vader? Not particularly. I think George's big mistake, by the way, was not jumping into a 7, 8 and 9 then, rather than doing 1, 2 and 3. And I think once he did 7, 8 and 9, I think people would have been really excited. And I think then, because having read his 7, 8 and 9, wow. And then he could have done 1, 2 and 3, and then maybe people would have been upset, but you still would have had a 7, 8 and 9 to enjoy. I think once these people at Lucasfilm and Disney were in charge of 7, 8 and 9, we had a problem, a big problem, because SJWs don't care about storytelling or entertainment. They believe we should be immersed in the real world and with their issues. Now, their world issues are not helping women and young girls getting murdered and raped in the third world. No, it's about women in the West complaining because they get 2 cents less than men. Now, I agree that women should get paid as much as men. Obviously, it's obvious. But you can't call yourself a feminist if you're not going to the third world, helping those poor mothers and daughters getting raped and murdered. Because you're not feminist because you don't care about women. You just care about opening and shutting your mouths. And here lies the problem. So, again, back to Star Wars, because I keep on diverting, don't I? This pretty much means nothing. Nothing's going to change. We're going to be shouting. They're going to keep on making films and calling us racists and sexists. And nothing's, as I say, nothing's going to change. You know, nothing to see here. Keep on moving. At the end of the day, here it is. Here it is. So basically, I don't see things improving with Star Wars. I don't see a much better box office than Solo Star Wars story. I don't think Episode 9 will even reach $1 billion unless JJ has freedom and Iger is running the show. Listen, at the end of the day, this is the only way it can be spun into a positive. If Iger's going to run the franchise and she's just going to be there as some kind of, statue saying, hey, I'm a woman and I'm in charge of Lucasfilm, but really she isn't. It does look like that's the way they're going, and that's up to them. But to me, it's embarrassing because you need someone to actually run the franchise. You can't have a guy who's at Disney trying to make decisions for Star Wars because at the end of the day, how much does he know about films? He's a Chekhov merchant. He's a bureaucrat. What does he know about films? Bureaucrats know nothing about films. They just care about box office. But the problem is they care about box office, but they make stupid decisions. And you know what's hilarious about this extension to Kennedy's contract? After Justice League, Warner Brothers booted out a bunch of people. Jeff Johns was moved out of being in control of the DCEU. They gave him his own production company and said, listen, Jeff, you're a great storyteller, writer. We want you via this production company to, write DC movies. So they gave him a choice and he's doing Green Lantern Corps. And that's going to be an excellent movie, because Jeff, admittedly, isn't a leader, but he's a great storyteller. They reaffirmed it. They've got Walter Hamada in charge now. He's making some fantastic decisions, as we've seen from this Joker movie. You know, so Birds of Prey, so on and so on. And I'm sure eventually they will announce a Superman movie as well. I actually watched Man of Steel for the 100,000th time. Still love it, by the way. I'll be watching Batman v Superman later. So basically, we will see what happens. But from the outside looking in, this is an absolute shit show. And I just don't understand where us, as Star Wars fans, go from here. Are we just supposed to just sit there and watch their crappy films? No. I won't go to the cinema to watch a Star Wars film. I'll compromise. Basically, I'll buy the Blu-ray or I'll buy the digital version, but I won't go to the cinema. And in the end, if they keep on putting out average, mediocre stuff like Solo, which was okay, but nothing special, then in the end, I'm not even going to get the Blu-rays. I'm not even going to get the digital copy. So there you have it. She's back. Kathleen Kennedy never left, by the way. So why am I saying she's back? Kathleen Kennedy is still going to be the head of Lucasfilm, and we could just bash our heads against a brick wall for all they care, because this is something else about Disney. The customer isn't always right. This is the problem. They know better than us. It's like when your mother gives you a vegetable you don't like, but she says to you, it's really good for you, and you think it's disgusting, and when she's not looking, you gob it out in the toilet, or the bathroom, as you Americans call it, right? And this is what we've got with Kathleen Kennedy. Someone we don't want, but we're told she's good for us. Well, she's not. She's bad for us. She's bad for Star Wars. She's bad in film in general. But this is what Hollywood is. It's not what you know. It's who you know. If Kathleen Kennedy didn't work with Lucas and Spielberg all those years, she would never have become head of Lucasfilm. But it was part of the contract. This is another problem, and I said this ages ago before I formed this YouTube channel, that George Lucas has it in print that without Kennedy there, he would never sell it. And if Kennedy goes, he can re-grab the ownership of Lucasfilm. So there you go. She's not going anywhere until she's too old to do anything. So there you have it. So if you thought Disney and Fox, if you thought Disney and Lucasfilm were insane, Fox made a string of decisions that make no sense. So they brought out a Dark Phoenix trailer this week, coming out next year. I think it was meant to be Valentine's Day? That's all changed. Alita was meant to come around the same time as Aquaman. Now, Alita was worrying me as a DC fan because I thought this film looks really good and James Cameron's involved. I think this could really hurt Aquaman. So what they've done is they've moved it to Valentine's Day, which is really odd. This looks like a really good film, something we've not seen before, which is really strange for Hollywood these days because they just kind of make the same old crap, don't they? So that's interesting. So what they've done is they've done a PG-13 Deadpool 2, which they will aggressively release around the same time as Aquaman. Personally, I can't see this hurting Aquaman. I mean, I can't, right? So you've got a film that probably, let's be honest, right? They're saying they've got a child-friendly version of Deadpool 2. Right, wait a minute. Haven't you already released this on Blu-ray and on digital platforms, right? Do you think kids haven't watched this at home? Just because it's like whatever it is rated, you don't really think parents haven't allowed their kids to watch it. It's a stupid idea that's not going to work. I mean, let's make a few predictions for Aquaman. I don't think Aquaman's going to break any box office records, but I think 500, 550 is what the least we should expect for this film. And if it makes that, it's a hit. It's done what it's got to do, and it can move on. As I say, these are the kind of numbers that origin movies normally make anyway. So I think it will do well. I think those figures are good. And if you think that Justice League did 650, 5 to 550 is very good for Aquaman. So I think that's where it's going to hit. I think early estimations are talking about 500, but they're saying that. They said that Wonder Woman would make nowhere near what it did globally, because they're always talking domestic. But to me, because I've worked in retail as well, And in retail, if you're an area manager of a bunch of shops, you don't just go, this shop in the area is doing well. Of course, you look if it's gone up or down. That's important. But ultimately, you look at what all your kind of business is doing rather than just one. So I always look at global. I always look at the Man of Steel Global, the Batman v Superman, which was good, but not record-breaking. It should have done better. Why did Batman v Superman not do as well as it should? Everyone said a film with Batman and Superman in it should make over $1 billion. Well, you've got to blame Warner Brothers rather than what the film was, because Warner Brothers marketed it as a popcorn-chomping blockbuster of two superheroes fighting. Their tagline was, "Who will win?" Everyone thought this was going to be a popcorn typical CBM, and it wasn't. Let me give you a great example. Logan, right? Logan was marketed exactly as the film itself was. Gritty, indie, characters fleshed out. It was a wonderful film, but we didn't go and see a different movie. With Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, we were led to believe in the marketing that it was just going to be a typical CBM and a popcorn flick. And it wasn't that. So when I went and saw it, as much as I loved it, I was extremely surprised by the direction they went in, because the way it was marketed was extremely different. So, and this is why it was a controversial movie, because if you give people something they didn't expect, things can get a bit, rough, and it did for the movie. But there's a lot of people who still love MOS and BVS. I love the whole of the DCEU. Now, when you look at Justice League, and it is very, very, very interesting, because when you do look at Justice League, that film was destroyed by the bloggers and the pundits. Why? No, it wasn't them who made those decisions. But why were those decisions made by WB? Right? WB, all of a sudden, booted Snyder out, brought Whedon in to create a bright, bubbly, fun superhero film, because they thought that's what the world wanted. Because they were told they were too dark, they were too this. And then the bloggers and the pundits and some of the fans were going on the internet, we don't want to see Superman in the promo. That's a spoiler. Look what you did with Doomsday. So they listened to them, right? And what happened afterwards? The film flopped because they didn't use Superman in the marketing. That's what the so-called bloggers, pundits and fans were saying. And these were the people who told them not to show Superman in the marketing. So that shows you who really destroyed Justice League. Because say what you want about the previous 4 films, but those 4 films made more money globally than the MCU's first 4 films. Yeah. So they were doing quite well. They were critically panned, but who cares about that? Man of Steel did well. Batman v Superman did well. Suicide Squad went beyond expectations, mainly because of Harley Quinn. And I actually quite like Leto's joke, even though he's not very popular with a lot of people. Wonder Woman was a massive success. It was Justice League. And Justice League was ruined because Warner Brothers got scared because of what the pundits and reviewers and bloggers were saying. And this is what happened. It was that almighty pressure saying, no, let's not do this anymore. Let's do this. Let's quickly make this film 2 hours long, bright, bubbly. And this is the problem. They had to bring Henry back. He had a tash. They messed up the CGI. I don't think they had the time to perfect the CGI. It was a mess. And then you had that bit when Superman turns up and Batman's going, ridiculous. And you've got to blame the bloggers and the pundits for that. It's too dark. It's too this. It's too that. Oh, look at the colour palette. I am fed up of pundits and bloggers and some fans. We have now become these over-analysing idiots. We seem to be experts about photography and colour palettes and filmography. Most of you have never been on a film set or written a film or a TV show in your lives. But still, you talk like you know it all. Instead of focusing on colour palettes, why don't you actually focus on the films? Instead of getting overexcited and overanalyzing a bloody poster, you idiots, why don't you wait to see the films when they come out and judge them for the piece of entertainment they are? It shouldn't be about colour palettes and filmography or whatever you're obsessed with, right? It should be about the story, the performances, And if you like the direction they've gone in, they're fair criticism if you don't like that. But to talk about colour palettes and how a film's made, technically, CGI. Every time I see a trailer, you see in the comments, oh, the CGI is so bad, it's so grainy. You don't know anything about CGI. This is the problem. And what happens is you criticise things for the wrong reasons. It's just like the Captain Marvel trailer. People were talking about the expressions on her face instead of the actual trailer. The trailer was okay. I was only excited about Coulson and Samuel L. Jackson, and there were issues. It wasn't the most exciting trailer, but you need to start focusing on the right things. Thank you very much. I'm Big Mouth, and it will return.